Started playing cricket at a high level from a very young age.
Yes.
And I played with boys, and the nice thing about boys, you can tell guys, you can tell them where to go and go and find their fathers and their mothers. Right, but off the field, you can have a deal with it.
I get that.
Yeah.
They don't take it personal.
It's not personal.
Sure. My goodness. We're already getting into the heart of this conversation before I even welcomed you guys. Oh my God. We officially welcome you to the PITCHSIDE Podcast, another exciting episode, and I have a special guest that's joining me today. Her name is Sharne Mayers, and she is one of the most experienced batters for the Zimbabwe women's team. But not only that, but she's destructive, she's skillful, she's talented, and I'm looking forward to really unpacking her journey with cricket and where she is now. Sharne, it's so good to have you, man.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
Finally, you are here.
I am here for you. We've been talking about this for ages, and I'm here, and I'm excited.
Before we even talk about your debut, so I had a chat with Ayabonga this morning, and I said to Aya, guess who I'm having on the podcast? And I said, I'm having you as my guest. And I'm like, what do you remember about Sharne? She's like, Sharne at the under-19 week would thrash us. She was like, she would murder every bowler that comes into bowl. And I'm interested firstly to find out about, Zimbabwe's inclusion in the under-19 Coke Week. And also just you participating in that Coke Week and how significant that was for your game and also for Zimbabwe.
So I think I was part of that first under-19 girls team that went to that week. It was 2009, and we were playing in East London. And I was just excited, to play with people my own age, for
yes.
one. And, you're going to South Africa, you're going to play some cricket. At that stage, we're going to have a good time playing cricket. And I'm going to the coast, and I'm going to enjoy myself. So, it was very pivotal because that was the first time, my first exposure to being in a leadership role, because I'd already played in the women's setup. Now I'm playing with much younger players, and there's lots of expectation of you. So there I was, 17 at the time, and you have to lead from the front. At that time, I was the all-rounder. I would wicket keep for the first 10 overs, then I would take off the pads, go and bowl, and then I was coming in and batting at number 6.
What?
Yeah.
All of that?
Yes.
In one game?
Yeah.
Game after game?
Game after game.
Jeez. And tell me how the entire week was.
We won every game, and the fixtures kept changing as we went on. From what we saw with how the tournament progressed, we had pretty easy fixtures, but also nobody, and in all fairness to the organisers, nobody knew what our strength was. So you don't want to put us against, put a very young team and a very inexperienced team against some of the stronger sides right away, and then blown out of the water, and it's not a game. But also you don't want to put us against the weakest teams.
Yeah.
So I would like to say the first round of fixtures was pretty evenly balanced.
Okay.
And we won. We dominated. And then from there they just gave us, okay, right, let's see what you do in the next game. And it got a bit tougher and tougher. Every single game got tougher and tougher. And then I met Aya in the border match.
Yes, tell me about that.
There was a top order collapse.
Okay.
And I came in. I was in a little bit earlier than I expected. And
came in at number what?
At number 6.
Okay.
I was in a little bit earlier than expected. I think I was in the 23rd, 24th over. I think it may be a bit earlier, but definitely after 20 overs. So it's not ideal, but I was there. And for me it was watch the ball. And I hate to say this, but there was no game plan. It was watch ball, hit ball.
Okay.
And if you're going to hit ball in the air, you hit it far. It was as simple as that. And I did, and I think I ended up scoring 98 of 60 odd balls.
Oh wow!
I know my mother has the clipping.
Okay.
And she saw. Well, I saw it recently when I was at their place, and she has the clipping. And I didn't even realize Marizanne had played in the same under-19 week.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, but in that, I do remember I hit a few balls. I think I lost 2 in that game.
And do you remember majority of some of the players that participated in that under-19 week that you're seeing being part of the Momentum Protea setup?
No, not to me. I just remember Aya.
Okay.
She was the hardest bowler I faced in that game. She bowled, because she was so tall, she would get unprecedented bounce compared to all the other players.
Yeah.
So it was, okay, we've got to overcome this. And I guess playing boys cricket at the time helped. So, it was, okay, just get through it. She is one of the bowlers. She's bowling tighter. Just, you don't need to attack this one because you're going to attack everybody else anyway. And that's exactly what I did. It was, you don't need to go too hard here, a few singles here, and then you could potentially get 10 runs in the next over. You can always catch up. And one of my fondest memories, and that's when I realized, you had dominated this game, is they wanted to give Aya the ball. The captain wanted to give Aya the ball to come back and bowl again. And Aya was like, no,
thanks.
It's not happening. And I think, looking back and thinking about that, I think she wanted Aya to come on too early.
Okay.
Because Aya did end up bowling, I think, in that last 10 overs.
Yeah.
But I think they wanted her to come on a lot sooner.
Okay.
And she was like, no, it's not happening. It's a bit too soon, because now we all of a sudden have like doubled our run rate. And then there's quite a big partnership, because my partner at the time also, she made a 50. So we came in and just like took the game.
And you ended up winning that game.
Oh yeah.
Definitely, of course. Yeah. With that destructive batting, of course you're going to end up winning. I want Aya to actually come onto this platform and also tell her version of the story, so we can hear whether did you not want to bowl or what was going on in that moment.
I like to believe that Aya, even back then, was a student of the game and knew that she shouldn't come in bowl as early as they wanted her to, because she bowled the last over of the game. If my memory serves me right, and I hope it does, she didn't bowl at me. She made sure that I had to reach for the ball, and was still very smart. So even back then, for me, I was like, superstar in the making. Yeah.
And how was it be able to compete against her at the under-19 week and end up being with her at the Lions setup? Yes, obviously there weren't a lot of games that you played with her, but you were part of the same team.
Oh, I loved it there. Aya is, she is a little bit reserved. She doesn't talk too much, but great conversationalist. She comes out with gold, and her experience is something that I just constantly, learned from. I'm not a bowler. Not a bowler anymore, and I also didn't bowl anything with a seamer. So just seeing how she, conducts herself with her training, how the professional she is, that was, okay, I need to take my game to the next level. Especially if I want to compete at that level, because that's where she's playing. I'm playing with her now, but I could be playing with her this week. If they call us into camp and they say, okay guys, in 3 weeks time you're playing each other, she's going to be bowling at me. I'm going to be there first up, and if she's coming in first change or she's opening the bowling, and she's going to be bowling at me. And she's been bowling at me 3 weeks ago in the Nets, the Wanderers. So I've particularly enjoyed having Aya, just maybe not always having too long conversations, but just seeing how she conducts herself has been worth its weight in gold.
No, definitely. And now when we go to just your game and how it has evolutioned over the years, I mean, you speak about how you were wicketkeeper, bowler, batter, and now we know you as Sharne, who's a top order batter. How did that evolution and transition happen?
So it started, let's go right to the beginning.
Okay.
How I actually got into cricket. I was at school, and they needed a scorer, because one of the boys' parents who was scoring, she wasn't able to be at all the games, so she needed to start teaching somebody how to score. I put my hand up. So I would go with my classmates and I would go score their games. And I would keep going. And then one day, the Colts B side didn't have enough players to play in the game. And I was the only one there. And, somebody who wants to be part of the team, because I am part of the team, even as a scorer, I had whites on. So even though I was only going to score, I had long socks, white shorts, my white shirt, ready with my pencil case, and I was ready to score. I would warm up with the boys, I would do everything, and then I'd put my hat on and go and sit on a desk and go and score. That day, they needed a player. I put my hand up and I played pretty decently. The next week, the coach was like, no, you're not going to score for my team anymore. You're going to play for, the other team. And I played, that was grade 5.
Oh, wow.
And I played with them. And then I played through grade 6. Grade 7, I played first team at my primary school.
So you were playing with boys throughout?
Yes.
And what did that teach you?
You got to be tough. You have to be tough. Don't take the game too personally. I learned very quickly you have to have a thick skin, because you're there. There's a boy who isn't playing, but also at the same time, if you're good enough to be there, you will play. So, in all fairness, I was at a private school, so I hate to say it is entitlement.
Yeah.
So there was some boys who were like, it's not fair. Why does she get to play when, it's a boys' team?
Yeah.
And even some parents and there's some nonsense being said about me, but I still played and I still did it. But just to go back onto the wicket keeping.
Yeah.
There was under 11 provincial trials, and we were short a keeper, so I just put my hand up. You're just gonna. I was keen. I was always keen to try, and I'm always don't knock it till you try it. And I did, and one of the boys said it was so strange. You didn't move your feet, but your hands just gravitated to the ball.
Wow.
And so that's what I did. And I was selected to the next round of trials. Then I got injured. I injured my thumb, and then I wasn't able to train, and I didn't make the final cut. But for me, just the experience was life-changing, because from then I also played a little bit of club cricket, and I was wicket keeping there.
Okay.
Then how I learned to bowl was just, if you're a batter and a wicket keeper, when we have a net session, you've got to bowl. So I did, and I would hold the seam up and just turn my wrist, and the ball would get some turn, and that's how I learned, was just bowling in the net. But knowing that you're only doing this because the guys batting, your partners, need somebody to bowl at them. And then so I kicked wickets, I bowled.
It sounds like you're a natural athlete. I mean, any opportunity that's been given to you, you're just the first to pick your hand up and just throw yourself in.
I'm willing to try. Sometimes you do get nervous and everything, but one thing, playing cricket as the only girl, playing in a boys' team for as long as I did, people are going to look at you anyway. So if they're going to look at you anyway, and they were looking at me, you're a young girl, you're playing cricket and you're all white and everything, and nobody realizes you're a girl until you take off your hat. And you greet someone, and this is at primary school. High school, very, very different experience. But so I was just always keen to try, and I wasn't keen on books. I mean, I was okay. I was an okay student.
Yeah.
But I was always keen on, this ball, let's play, let's be outside, let's be active, let's just do things. And I took to it, and I think even my parents will say that from a young age, to buy me a present, they were like, you're easy, you just want a ball. It doesn't matter what.
As simple as that.
It doesn't matter what shape, what size, you want a ball, to do something, and that's what I did.
And the transition to playing for the boys, and then the women's, and then eventually your debut for the Zimbabwean team.
So that was actually pretty easy. So my school coach at primary school he was part of the coaching setup at my club, and he got me involved in club cricket. I was 11 years old when I played my first game, and I'm 11 years old, and I think the closest person to me in age was 18. So my parents were there. There's our little girl who doesn't know about the big bad world, is playing with these much older women.
Sure.
So at training practice, my dad changed his squash games, that he would play squash the days I've got cricket practice. So there was always a parent around, and I played. And then I think it was after my third game, and my parents, we had a very honest conversation, and they said, look, you're going to stop playing club cricket until you're in high school. Sure. Just so that I can be a child. Just so that I can be a child. They were still very supportive, very keen on me playing. They spoke to the coaches were very understanding. And by the time 13 came, I do remember, my first day of high school was, I'm going to club cricket on Wednesday.
But how did you feel about that decision, though, that your parents made on your behalf?
I didn't mind it because I was playing so many sports. I was playing squash, tennis, swimming. I did everything. The school was also very good in keeping us busy, and as an athletic kid, or a kid that likes to be, on the sports field, I didn't mind it, but I was burnt out. So cutting back on something allowed me to have a free day of the weekend where I can be with my family. I can go and see my friends outside of school. I'm not missing too much of the normal things that every child should be going through.
And then your debut?
For the national team.
Yes.
Oh, that. It was difficult because there I am, a 14-year-old. I've got a lot of experience playing hard cricket and playing with the boys where they chirp you a lot more. And then you're playing in the women's setup where it's all a little bit more civil, I would say. It's a little bit more civil, a little bit more polite. They still look at you as a youngster, so they don't say the nonsense that the boys say. And so all I did was just play, and there was, the coach that was there at that time had no expectation of a 14-year-old.
Okay.
So I was free to, for one, be a 14-year-old cricket player. You're talented, but you're still 14. You don't have the maturity to say you're going to bat out 30 overs, you're going to block, or you're just there to support somebody else. It was, if this 14-year-old has to do the job of an older, more mature cricketer, there's something wrong. He's not saying it's not within my capability, but he was saying that's not your responsibility right now. Your responsibility right now, yes, you're going to play, but you're going to learn.
Okay.
And that's what I did. And playing, you have to grow up. So I had to grow up very quickly because, not everybody is going to be too keen on having to babysit a 14-year-old. So you learn to be independent. Mum and dad aren't always there. So you learn to be independent. And I was lucky to have a mentor within the team to try and, you're a 14-year-old. The next person in age is, there's two of us 14-year-olds, and the next person in age is, I think she was 20.
Yeah.
So just try and keep us sheltered a little bit from that. So,
And what do you remember about your game as a 14-year-old? Like, how did you play? Were you playing more freely compared to maybe how you're playing now? What was the difference between a 14-year-old version of you then Sharne now?
I didn't know cricket.
Oh, as simple as that.
Yeah, I didn't know cricket. For me, cricket was, you want to hit the ball, you want to play with a straight bat. But for me, I was batting. I do remember for my province, I was batting number 5, 6, and the national team, my debut game, I was batting at number 10.
Sure.
So the expectation was very little, and I'm in there and I'm saying I'm a batting all-rounder and I'm the second keeper. So I would occasionally roll my arm over, but there was just no expectation. So my job was literally to learn how to play at that level with the expectation that, you're not just playing for yourself, you're playing ahead of other people, and a lot of other people that want to be in your position. So for me, it was, I felt very free, but I also, looking back, I knew very little about cricket.
I see. So what would you say then were you learning the most during that period?
The importance of practice. If that was, and the importance of repetition. When you practice, you want to be intentional about your practice. You want to make sure that, okay, catching 10 catches is okay, but or you're getting given 10 catches, you drop. No, but it's a case of, I want to make sure that I catch, right technique, getting into good positions as often as possible without losing concentration or managing your concentration levels. So that's something I learned back then, that if you want to be the best and play against the best, because that's all I've ever wanted. I wanted to play against the best, and at that time I think it was Karen Rolton and Lisa Stallacard was that group of players, and that's who I wanted to play against. So it was, okay, to get there I have to practice hard, I have to watch the game, I've got to learn about things. But at the same time I was like, I'm 14 years old, and I hate to say it, I enjoyed watching cartoons, so try to manage that.
But clearly you really did put in a lot of work in your game, and you practiced a lot, because you then ended up cementing your position in the team, and there's a point where you held the the captaincy role?
Yes, I was put in the position of captain at 19. So the same year I debuted for national hockey. A few months later, I was named the captain.
My goodness.
And for me, I think it was a little bit too early. Yes, I had the skill, I had the experience in terms of playing cricket. I just didn't have the life experience to lead a team. And I felt that I did my best with what I had. But looking back, I could, if it came a little bit later, I could have done a lot more and contributed a lot more to the team's success.
What was the toughest thing about being a captain?
Oof. Honestly, it's managing players. So, you know, it's not a case of the game only happens on the field. And as a 19-year-old, for me, that's where the game was. I didn't understand that I'm playing with somebody who has a 3-year-old boy at home. I'm playing with people that are, you know, prepping to get married, and, you know, they've got other stresses or other things on their mind as well. Because for me, I'm a 19-year-old, and my parents, I still live with my parents. They're paying my school fees. I come from a household where I didn't want for too much. And because all I wanted to do was play cricket and get, you know, and hang out with my friends, you know, as every 19-year-old does. So I didn't understand those dynamics, and I wish that responsibility came a little bit later.
But what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was that moment where you realized captaincy is not for me right now?
That first tour, it was a World Cup qualifier. We were in Bangladesh, 2011, and we didn't win a single game. And I took a lot of it personally. I blamed myself. I could have made better decisions. I could have supported the players more. And even to this day, there's things that I still learn from. And that was a big thing for me. And I didn't play cricket, I think, for a year and a bit after that.
Were you that scarred that you had to move away from the game?
I did. I had to think about it. I put my cricket stuff away. I even gave some stuff away, and I just focused on hockey. I said, I'm going to go and play hockey, and I'm going to enjoy it. So I'm going to play for the under 21 team, and I'm going to study, and I'm going to enjoy this time with my friends, because that tour was very difficult. Especially, and for me, it was that game we played against the USA, and we lost by 1 run. And we were in a winning position. So yeah, for me I was just way too inexperienced for what the team needed at that time. And it's just life experience, not in terms of cricket.
Did you break down?
I did.
Break down.
I broke down. I went home, and I do remember saying to my mother, I never want to play again. I never want to play again. I said, I'm going to go study, let me go and study. And I didn't train and play and do anything revolving around cricket for a very long time. I said, I'm going to be a 19-year-old, I'm going to study, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to play hockey and enjoy my time doing it. And I did, and I did pretty well. But I needed to learn a little bit more about life. And then I only came back to the game in 2013.
And what brought you back?
There was a long break where very little women's cricket was played in Zim, and there was a change in coach. There was some different players, and also I was just older. I could deal with the emotions a little bit better.
Okay.
I was also able to say, you weren't great, and it's okay. And I didn't take the captaincy role again, because I also said I don't know the players, because some of them had played in the previous World Cup qualifiers. I was injured at the time.
Okay.
Of those qualifiers, because I was called back and I was injured. It was a hockey injury, and I said, look, sorry, I haven't trained, I haven't played any cricket, and I am nursing an injury. I don't want to be a hindrance to the team. So they did allow me, to take a step back, and then I came back into the fold. I worked hard. and I got selected and I went on tour. I wasn't captain at the time. And and from then, and secretly my mother and my parents, even my sister and my brother remind me, they were, as much as you weren't playing the game, you were so in it. Because I knew what was happening all over the world. I was following the men's team, the women's team. I was following all the cricket in the world. There was a World Cup qualifier in Sri Lanka, and I was in charge of our one-day team.
Okay.
And I was working at the time. I was a lot older, a little bit more life experience, so I was able to deal with things a lot better. And I did take it back. I enjoyed it, and I did get a lot more support. So it was a much better experience.
So would you say that support plays a huge role in how you deal with just how you captain? So was there not support back then?
I would say, from a cricketing perspective, there was support.
Okay.
What I didn't realise, because there I am, and the only cricket I've played is schoolboy cricket, and for as long as it is, schoolboy cricket, you support your captain, because your captain's your friend. Your captain's your friend, and my captain specifically, we had bio class together, and I think we sat on the same table. So my captain, I saw him on and off the field, whereas a lot of the women I was playing with, I only saw them on the field. So I didn't know what was happening behind the scenes and what was happening in their lives. So just supporting that, and just for me it was just life experience. Because at that level, if you're playing international cricket, it's not about how good you can hold a bat, or it's not a case of how can I get you to perform your best. What can I do to help you get there? And listening, communication. And I wasn't experienced enough to know these things. So for me, if I'd read a little bit more, watched a little bit more, had conversations with some people, that would have been a major help. Because once you leave that line, the coach isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Once you cross over the rope, the coach isn't there anymore. The buck stops with you. You're on the field and you're in charge. So when the team wins, oh, it's great. It goes to the individual players. It goes to the team. When you lose, and this is something I took very personally, we win as a team, and I lost as an individual. So even if the team, it's a team game, but if I lost, I took it very personally to be I took it on my shoulders. That, geez, you messed up. Yeah.
And I want us to touch on the journey of the ICC qualifiers.
Which one?
Because all of them, even the recent one.
The lead up was great.
Of course, because you guys played incredible cricket.
Yeah.
Even in India, the build-up. Let's actually start with just the preparations leading there before we even touch on what happened at the qualifiers. But India was great.
Yeah. So leading up, we didn't have any international matches scheduled. We weren't able to get to play any international games, unlike the people we're playing against. So this is where you see the ingenuity of of our setup and the administration who were managing us. That okay, right, we're going to play in Abu Dhabi. Let's send the team to India. India is everybody knows India is a cricket-rich country. So we went and we played. They organised us a whole training camp. So we would train, we played games. I think we played 9 matches. So three one-day games and 6 T20s. And for me, that was the turning point in how I play spin. Because women's cricket, it's a lot of slower bowlers, a lot of spinners. So it was a case of you need to score off them, because from the first over, and we've seen it happen before playing Thailand. So Thailand will open up with a spinner, and they went to the World Cup. It got them there. So that was a great experience on and off the field. I learned so much about myself. I learned so much about my teammates. It just brought us all together, all on the same page, wanting the same thing. And I had some really good experiences. And it was funny. It was either I scored runs or I didn't. There was kind of no real
in between.
Which for me, I was like, and speaking to people, they were like, that's actually okay.
Yes.
Because it means that when you're in, you're in. If you're not, you're not. Type thing. So I was, learning how to manage this period of, okay, I'm in a little bit of form. Yeah, so India was a great experience. I learned so much about, just being with your team. It's a foreign, it's very foreign.
Yes.
But I loved it. I loved India, and I can't wait to go again.
India is amazing. And which part of India were you at?
We were in Bangalore, and we played at the NICE Academy, and it was incredible. And then we also played the Karnataka state select teams. It's an incredible experience.
But how were those conditions? Because I can't imagine the heat, the humidity, and just playing for hours under the sun.
For one, it wasn't easy. You're drinking water from the time you wake up. From the time you wake up, you're drinking water to the time you go back to bed, because you're just not used to the conditions. But after a while, it kind of is like, oh, okay, well, this is it. Let's move on with life. It gets to that point where, you can just get on with life. And I was like, oh, I'm getting used to this. And that did help going forward. Because even when we came to South Africa, it was hot, but I was like, oh, this isn't bad.
There's nothing compared to India.
I was like, this is nothing, there's a nice breeze. So it didn't matter how hot it got. And I think at one stage, the one day we played, it was 27 degrees and there was like almost no wind. And I said, no, this isn't too bad actually. Geez, it's actually a bit cool. I do I need a jumper? You're asking yourself these questions. But it was one of the best experiences. I learned so much from the coaches there, from the players. I also shared advice wherever I could, because I'm a firm believer if my competitors getting better, they're only going to make me get better as well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's a win-win.
That's great. And so how did that tour ready the Zimbabwe women's team for the qualifiers that happened in Abu Dhabi, right?
Yeah. We believed we could take it. We believed from the time we were in India that we could go to the World Cup. That was the first time where I can say with conviction that there was a serious belief amongst the change room. That was the first time where it was, where you could just feel the energy. It was pulp, like you could, it was incredible. Where you could feel that we can go all the way.
And then the devastation came.
Yeah, not an easy game. Not an easy game at all.
Take us through that morning and that day. And how ready you guys were.
So I knew some of the girls were going to be nervous. A lot of the girls haven't played cricket with that kind of pressure, and everybody knew that if this happens, we will be the first team ever from Zimbabwe. And I must, I do pay a lot of credit to the Lions and being here in Joburg, where you play under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
So I was used to kind of playing in those conditions and being around, and just, I would say maturity within the game. And I woke up feeling quite well. For me, that was the most clear game I went into. The whole of the qualifiers. That was the one game where I was like, I feel so ready for this game. I feel like we could win this. Like, we are going to the World Cup, and I felt like I'm going to do well today. I don't know what it was, but that's just how I felt. And then, you could see there was some nerves and, going around. And yeah, we didn't do ourselves any favors. We dropped some catches. And, we could say, that contributed, because we could have kept the score, I would say, well under 120. Yeah. And they ended up scoring 134. And yeah, we just couldn't get there in the end. To lose by 4 runs is extremely painful, considering how close we were, and considering how evenly matched, especially in phases, because you can't say Ireland took the game away from us. There were phases where Ireland were backpedaling and playing some very defensive, conservative cricket, because we were up there. And to not get over the line, but to almost say to all the other teams that don't take us lightly. Yeah. And in the lead up to that, Thailand were the favourites, especially in our group. And then we beat them in the quadrangular before, and we beat them in the pool game. So then, it was a case of don't take Zimbabwe lightly. Yeah. And yeah, we didn't get over the line. I mean, Ireland have been in that position, and kudos to them. They played some really smart cricket. They did their homework, executed their plans. It worked, so kudos to them and congratulations to them. You know, and I do hope that this is a sign that, you know, cricket is moving from strength to strength.
Yeah.
And in all fairness, Ireland had a tour, South Africa toured them, Australia did, they beat South Africa. So they're not a team, you know, that you can just say, oh no, you know, this is an easy game. You know, there's some top class players. So
And so you guys didn't underestimate Ireland?
No, not at all.
And how hard was that for the team after you guys lost? And what were some of the conversations that happened amongst you guys? And also yourself, how did you handle that?
A bit of a loaded question there, but I took it very personally. I got a really good start, 39 runs. You know, after 2 very quick wickets that fell in the power play, a good partnership between me and Marianne, and then I don't want to say I gave the game away, but I did lose my wicket. You know, she bowled a bit of a slower ball. I played too early, and yeah, so I took a lot of it personally, because I was like, just one more ball, 1-4 would have put me on 43. I would have been amped, I would have been pumped. I probably would have like hit another boundary, you know, put the team even further. But you know, these are all what ifs. So for me, it took a long time. I was injured, so I did come back. I took some time off just to deal with my injuries, but it's very different, because I didn't say I don't want to play. For me it was, and this is still my thinking, I need to go and correct it. I need to play again so that I can contribute and get the team back to a World Cup. But it was very difficult, very emotional, considering all the hard work we put in, because we were in India. We didn't go home for very long. We were in South Africa. We were home for 2 days. We flew to Dubai. So, you know, you see the sacrifices. People are leaving their children.
Yeah.
People are leaving their families, their husbands. You know, it's hard. People are stopping their lives for this, and we didn't get there. And for so long, with all the hard work, and it came down to that. So you look at it, and I took it very personally. It was very emotional, and it took a while. It took a while for me to talk about it.
Okay.
And once I did talk about it, you know, just the emotions, there was tears. It was heartbreaking.
Is it because you just felt like you had a lot of responsibility as a senior player to assist in making sure that they get over the line, and that you kind of feel like you prematurely lost your wicket?
Yeah. I took it very, I'm a senior player, so I should play better. I've got high expectations of myself, especially because of the form I was in the lead up to it. You know, it was, I scored some 50s in India, I scored 100 in India. Against South Africa, you know, scored some good runs. Against, in a quadrangular with the USA, UAE and Thailand, I only played one game. It was against Thailand. Scored quick fire 48s. So the lead up to it, I was like, okay, you're going to take the team to the next level, you know, and you're going to lead with the bat. You're going into bat, you're the opening batter, you're going to lead with the bat, and it started off well. So, and then, you know, you lost your wickets. So for me, it was so heartbreaking, because you're in good nick, you know, you're in good form. Okay, I might not, I was managing some injuries, but I'm still doing well, so I'm still able to play. So for me, I took it so personally, because
and why is it difficult for players to understand that sometimes we have a good day at the office and sometimes we don't? And leading to the qualifiers, like you were saying, you were putting in the effort, you were racking in the runs, and it just happens on that day that it doesn't work out for you. But how do you not look at yourself and say that, Sharne, you've done good. Unfortunate this time, but you've done really good leading the team to this point?
Well, the nice thing is you need to have people around you that are going to tell you the truth. And luckily for me, you know, I work with some really good trainers. I also spoke to the head coach, and it's you know, you have to remind yourself it's not one moment that's lost you the game.
Yeah.
You know, it's not one moment that the whole game is dependent on.
Yeah.
And for us, we weren't great in the field. You know, we must take responsibility there. You know, we dropped some catches. We could have done better with the batting or just be a little bit more composed. But I also look at it and this is what's helped me get through it is, yes, okay, you could have played a better shot because you were in. You can't tell me at 39 runs you're not in. You know, you can't say that. You're in. You've done all the hard work. You're in. The field is spread. You just need to hit the sweepers. So for me, it's not only on you. You know, if you're going to look at that game, you're not going to point fingers. You know, they held their nerve. At the end of the day, they were more composed, and that's what it came down to.
But the dream of finally qualifying as Zimbabwe is still there, I'm sure.
Oh, very alive. I am still working hard, and I know a lot of my teammates are. I'm still looking for ways to transform my game even more, because not so long ago I couldn't play a ball through the offside, and now I score almost 30% of my runs through the offside.
And you strike higher when it comes to spin, so you've worked on that as well.
So, you know, and I'm looking at other areas to score in, so that the next time, you know, we meet, you know, Ireland again, you meet Thailand again, you meet Bangladesh, you know, I'm not the same player that I was in August.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm doing now, is that I want to rectify what happened. I want to make sure that whoever comes after me, because I'm not going to play this game forever, but I want to leave it in a better state than what I found it in. So, and that's my goal, that the youngster that's coming through must come into a professional setup where they're able to learn, express themselves, and it's not too hard to get games, because you're not looked at as the minnows of cricket anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you're looked at as a competitive side that will give any team out there a good game. So that's my goal.
And Sharne, when you look at Zimbabwean cricket when you started and where it is right now, and what you look forward to seeing unfolding within the game in Zimbabwe, what's your assessment?
Well, I was part of the first ever women's team that was ever put together. You know, they call us the pioneer group. So I was the youngest in that group, and there was a little bit of club cricket. There was, you know, some provincial cricket that happened, and all I would want to see is for it to become more professional, but also for a young girl who is 8-9 years old saying, when I grow up I want to be a cricketer, because I was that age when I said I wanted to be a cricketer. My grade 6 teacher reminds me that, you know, he wrote a story once saying he wanted to be a cricketer and he wanted to play cricket with Andy Flower.
Wow.
Right?
So nice. I love that.
So she reminds me whenever I see her, when I go home and visit. So I just want the story to change a little bit. To me, I want to be a Zimbabwean cricketer, and I want to play with the likes of Kellis and Paul. I want to play with all the youngsters that are coming up, because maybe they'll say me, but
they'll probably say you, Sharne.
I am getting a little bit older, but I do want, you know, they to say, you know, I want to get older. I want to play with Marianne. I want to play with Josephine and Cornwall. You know, I want them to say these talented players that are coming up and they see a future in cricket. Yeah. So, you know, where cricket was, you know, it was all very amateur. Where it is now, we are on the road to professionalism. Where the game is more professional at all levels. And where I would love it to be is the moment you are saying that you are playing List A first-class cricket, we are now full-fledged professionals. That's where I'd love the game to be in.
And lastly, I know I asked you about the World Cup aspiration, right? But your own personal aspiration in terms of your game and maybe certain leagues that you want to participate in?
I would love to play in the World Cup. For me, that is the pinnacle. There's nothing higher than a World Cup in cricket right now. So that's where I want to play. I want to play against the best, see where I stand against the best. because, you know, I'm not saying that I haven't played the best. I've played some of the best players in the world, but now I've played some of the best teams.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, have that challenge. And then hopefully playing a little bit more cricket, and I'd love to be ranked in the top 10. But for me, personal rankings isn't a major focus of mine. I just want to score runs for my team.
Yeah.
And franchise cricket, everybody wants to play franchise cricket. That's always an experience. We'd love to play in the Women's Big Bash. We'd love to play in the Women's IPL. But, you know, for now, let's just focus one game at a time.
Yeah.
That's the way I look at it. Like they say, focus on one ball at a time, focus one game at a time. So, yeah.
I thought you were even going to mention that you want to participate in the fair break. How are you not mentioning fair break?
Come on. Because...
Why? Let's hear this.
Because I don't want to, you know, be biased. You know, you at fair break. I'm like, you know, I don't want to put you in a position where...
You must mention so that I can send this clip to Sharne.
No, I would love to play in the fair break. I heard about fair break many years ago.
Yeah.
And I've applied, and, you know, I would love to play.
Yeah.
You know, play with and against some of the best in the world. But also learn from everybody. Everybody... You know, especially in women's cricket, they're facing their own challenges.
Yes.
From their different within their different national associations, and, you know, there's so much more to cricket than, you know, just a bat and a ball. I hate to say it. So I would love to learn from them, because I never know, you know, whether I'm coaching or whatever, where life is going to take me.
Yeah.
But the more information you have, the better able you are to help some youngster, you know, get to the next level. It doesn't matter who they are. At the end of the day, I just want to see people playing cricket, any sport really.
Yeah.
Cricket preferably. But, you know, just if you have the opportunity, you know, take it. And if you don't want to play cricket, well, I hope you're playing some other sport.
Yeah.
So, no.
No, that's great. I'm glad that I pulled out fair break out of her. And hopefully we'll eventually see you participate in any of these leagues. Before I wrap it up, I'm sure we do have a couple of questions. V?
So I want to ask, as a player who's from another country, did you have some challenges when you came to South Africa to start playing the side?
That's
a good one.
Question.
That's a good one.
I have a funny story.
Let's hear this.
So when I first came here, I played in the men's club league, and when I played in the women's team, I wasn't selected for my club team.
Okay.
So I was very upset, and then they put me to bat at 6, and I was not having it. And I almost, you know, had to back my guns, because for me it was, I need to bat higher if I want to be selected for the Lions.
Yeah.
So I just went to one of the players that I knew, and I was like, please, you know, can you make something happen that I go in and bat next? And eventually, you know, she convinced the captain, and I was like, hey, look, you know, she's a national team player, she deserves, like, just give her a chance.
Yeah.
And then I heard a comment, oh, she's just an ordinary player. Is there any cricket in Zim anyway?
No.
No, but that was a comment. I don't even know who, but it was just, I heard it in passing, and I just left it, and I didn't even see the group of people. You know, you just hear comments, and I'm just like, oh, okay, no problem. And what I then did, I scored 100.
Of course, girl. Show them.
And for me, it was that. And you're going to find that in every country. It doesn't matter where you go. And I do hope people, you know, are a little bit better and give people a chance to have conversations with people. Yeah. Because even if you didn't want me to open, just back me a little bit higher.
Yeah.
Just a little bit higher. So for me, it's, you know, you have to pay your dues. You have to pay your dues. It doesn't matter where you go. Don't expect to go to the top, but also back yourself.
Yeah.
Just back yourself, and, you know, and if they didn't back me higher, I promise you, I wasn't going to sulk or anything, or whatever the case is. So I was just gonna, you know, do what I had to do, and then, you know, go from there. Show them what I can do, and then say, look, this is what I can do at number 6, and I imagine what I can do in my normal batting position.
Yeah.
So that's the way I looked at it.
Good on you, though.
Yeah.
Good on you for asking for them to actually bet you higher, but also backing yourself.
Yeah. But I spoke to the player that I asked to help me out, and she was so nervous because she said if you messed up, if you came out for a duck,
Yeah,
that was
you,
mine.
bro.
And I'm eternally grateful to her for taking a chance on me, because without her, I don't think I would have had the opportunity at Lions.
That's good.
Yeah.
But also, like, people's, like, ignorance, though. Like, how does someone say that, oh, is there even cricket in Zimbabwe? Imagine.
Well, I technically, I do think it was a man's voice who said it. So,
Okay.
you know, I don't think it came from one of my teammates, because we all understand the struggle within women's cricket.
Got you. Okay. Any other questions? Are we happy to wrap up?
That was a conversation and a half.
That was a conversation and a half. Did you hear the producer? Thank you, Sharne.
Thank you, Lee. It was honestly a pleasure.
Yeah, really appreciate it. Guys, if you enjoyed any part of the conversation, please make sure that you hit us up on our social media platforms. Comment. I don't know why I'm speaking like that. Comment, subscribe, do the whole shebang. Follow Sharne on social media. Just support her because I think she's incredible. And so thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode of the PITCHSIDE Podcast.
Bye.
Bye.